if you're interested and you're thinking about starting to maybe going to the cargo van level and doing over the road or expedited, I would go work for somebody and drive their van for a while.
That
Or
right?
you go spend $20,000, $30,000 on a
Woo,
Ford
yeah,
Transit or some
yeah.
cargo van. See if that's the life you can handle and you want to, that's something you're interested in. Can you make six figures and multiple six figures? Absolutely.
Yeah. That's good advice. That's solid advice. When I talk about something, a new gig app or a new way of making money, you throw out, you can make this much, you can make 10,000 a month. Like, it's possible, but it's like you said, it's going to take a lot of work. So let's tackle some of those challenges. Obviously, it's the cost of the van itself, but trying to even find work. Where do you start?
Therein lies the problem of why I do some of the things I do, because it's just like I'm trying to give quality companies out there that you can, even as a beginner, reach out to. When you start getting in the cargo van, yes, you can do local deliveries and stuff like that where you don't have to have your authority and stuff like that. But once you start going over the road and going from state to state, maybe even if it's just regional, you either got to have somebody who has their authority or you got to have your own authority. And so
Right.
that's not easy. That's a pain in the butt. So I try and give some companies that you can use their authority. They can help you get started in the business if you already got a cargo van.
Yeah.
And we're looking for people more that are getting moving and
Yeah.
people who are already moving.
Gotcha. Driver with Ties says, if you having trouble doing gig work, do not jump off the porch with the cargo. Yeah, fair enough. But I think your advice makes sense. You may want to start working for someone else just to see the lay of the land, seeing how the market is.
Yeah.
And which also what you're saying is the networking aspect of it is that you're looking, like I said, looking for authority where the companies are already in bed with certain cargo companies that they are trusting to move the loads for them.
You have to have your DOT number. So each state has like different regulations and stuff like that when it comes to taking stuff across the state lines and cargo and things like that. I started watching this guy and I can't even remember his name, but he started doing hot shot, which is basically you got a big old F-350 truck and you're doing a trailer behind it and you're doing hot shot work. So he started working for somebody else to see if this is something he wanted to do. He started making really good money. And then instead of doing hot shot, he ended up buying his own like big rig.
Yeah. Nice.
So he knew what he wanted after he had worked for somebody and he decided, okay, maybe I need to go get my commercial class A and get a big rig because I can take this from $10,000 a month to $30,000 a month.
Yeah, so there's levels to this, right? There's levels to the possibilities.
He got the lay of the land, understood how everything worked. He got connections, and now he's killing it.
Talk about the requirements. You're saying like just each state is a little different, but is it terms of you got to have your insurance, obviously upkeep with the van. Is there any other requirements that we're not thinking of, which you probably may need?
With a cargo van, like most of these courier companies in general, most of these companies that are doing freight and stuff like that, you have to have commercial insurance. It just, there's a certain amount of coverage that, that you're going to have. If you're driving a car, it's going to be a little bit more, but it's more expensive than your normal insurance.
Of course.
You're probably going to be looking at somewhere between $200 and $300 for a car or an SUV. When you're looking at a cargo van, you're going to have higher because the amount of freight that you have on there is going to be more expensive and they're going to want to know that you can cover it. It's probably, you're going to be sitting somewhere at the 400 to 800 mark.
Yeah.
So that's something you're going to have. When it comes to a cargo van, especially if you're putting pallets of stuff in there, you're going to want you to have E-track systems to where you can bolt it down inside. That costs money. These cargo vans don't come with that. Maybe you can buy one with it already in there used, but and then if you really start moving along, then maybe you're going to go get your DOT number and things like that. And you can start buying your own freight directly off some of those like freight boards and things like that.
And another thing that you mentioned earlier that I think is extremely important is your ability to network, your ability to negotiate in terms of Because like I said, if you pay, you got commercial license, that's a bill. You have the van, you have a lot of stuff that you have to pay before you even pay yourself, obviously. How important is it to network? Because, you know, using these other apps, there is no networking. You turn it on and they take care of you. So how important is that to be able to gain stable, consistent work with a cargo van?
Man, I think it's just one of the most important things that you can do is network. It's the problem with networking is not knowing who to trust. There's so many people out there, especially in the cargo van, box truck business and things like that. There's a lot of people trying to get into that and be dispatchers and people who are just making money like shipping freight with you or other people like you. So you got to be careful. You got to find yourself some sources that make sense. These companies I'm putting up there, I'm not saying that every company I put up is going to get a good review. They're not. It's just not reality. People hop on there and go, oh, I saw a bad review. I'm like, man, somebody jumped on my channel the other day and a company I'm working for, and they're trashing it. And I'm just like, buddy, that's fine. But I have a different experience and I understand where you're coming from.
You got to do your due diligence. You're going to have to do some research. And especially if you want to jump in, like I said, the cargo game and going back, and I know repeating myself, but starting small by latching on to an existing company will let you know if you want to do this or not. I think that's a good stepping stone to say, hey, do I want to continue this where I've invested thousands of dollars, tens of thousands, before you jump in and you bought a new van and now you're stuck with a van?
It's just like the companies that I put up there, honestly, like they've been vetted by people I know personally who have done work for them. And I wouldn't have put them up there if I didn't trust the person or persons that told me that they were good companies.
Yeah. And the companies you mentioned, are there special ones for the cargo van?
Specific ones to do more cargo van and like box truck. So they're shipping bigger freight. And then there's the Courier Expresses. They have box trucks and cargo vans and routes and stuff for those too. So like a lot of these like courier companies that do medical and auto parts and things like that you can have a small car with, you can work your way up and go get a cargo van or a box truck with them too. It's not, I don't think you're going to make as much money that way, but I'm not saying that it's not possible.
Yeah. And I know you talked about some apps as well. I'm sure you probably are familiar with Curry. I know you talked about Bungee as well.
GoShare's a good one. Freight's a good one. I've done a video on all those too, man. There's about 6 or 7 apps that are all local. The problem is Curry's, they're bogged down. It's just, I'm even on the waiting list for them.
Yeah. They do pretty well in terms of the pay, and you definitely want, and also you want to contact them. I know Steve, and he says that you may want to reach out. You may want to send an email. They're really good at responding. So it's possible that you could probably get taken off that waiting list.
I have a friend who has 4 box trucks and his garage is full of 911 turbos. So like you can make, and he got his contracts. He's had contracts with like Uline and done all sorts of stuff. So, and he showed me his receipts, man. I've seen it all. You can make a ton of money like in local routes of box trucks. It all comes down to, if you know this industry, then you're legit and you can make money. If you just went and bought a box truck yesterday, you're not making that much money. You're going to be struggling for a minute. You're going to be trying to like grind it out.
I remember, this is years ago, but I remember I had to help a friend move and I had to drive a U-Haul, like one of the bigger ones. And there was a guy with a box truck trying to negotiate, trying to get people to use his truck instead. And I don't know, hopefully he's doing well, but you're just thinking like he's doing that, trying to get people to not use U-Haul, use his box truck, where if he would have had some connections, some stuff on the internet, that he wouldn't be there. You really have to put, like I said, that legwork in and try to get more information, because you don't want, like I said, you don't want to have a box truck just sitting there and you're not making any money.
Box trucks is something like, I'll give information on good companies and stuff that do box truck work, but unless you know what you're doing, or unless you got some capital to sit back and not stress about money, box trucks are just one of those things like, be careful.
You want to have a good amount of market knowledge. How long do you think, if you had to bar park it, how long would you be working for other people, learning the market, getting connections before you actually went to invest in your own cargo van?
If I was committed to doing this, then yeah, sure, I wouldn't have a problem going and buying a cargo van. And I think you could find work pretty quickly. Would it be like the optimal situation? Would you be traveling long distances and away from home for long periods of time? People always say the experience you get in this, like doing it versus just sitting back and like thinking maybe I should do it. Go out and do it. Figure out what it is you want, but it's not going to be glorious work. You're not going to be like rolling in a new yacht tomorrow or anything like that. It's one of those things like, yeah, you can make some money. And once you figure out the industry and you decide this is something you want to be in, you'll make some money.